welcome to the CanadianSME Small Business Podcast. I'm your host, Maheen, where in every episode, we center our discussions around a crucial aspect of our communities. We focus on the backbone of our economy, the small businesses. These enterprises are not just businesses, they are the embodiment of dreams and the drivers of local economies. They provide unique products, personal services, and strengthen community bonds. And it's essential to understand and support our local businesses. Today, we'll dive into the innovative world of communication technology and how it can transform small businesses. I'm thrilled to introduce David Toushek, the founder of Everything Communications, a unique company that merges consulting with brokerage services. With over 9 years of experience working with major brands, David launched his own venture to assist leaders in harnessing the power of communications. His firm stands out in the market by identifying and addressing the key challenges in companies' communication strategies to enhance employee and customer satisfaction, and then drawing from a diverse pool of experts, service providers, and technologies to create tailored solutions for businesses. Join us as we explore with David the transformative power of communication technology in the business world and how it can lead to more engaged employees and customers. Without further ado, let's welcome David. Welcome to the Canadian SME Small Business Podcast.
Thank you, Maheen. I'm very well, thanks. Thanks for having me.
Very pleased to have you with us this afternoon. From working with big brands to founding Everything Communications is truly inspiring. In the name itself, how the name really reflects the company's vision and mission. We'd love to hear, why did you choose the name Everything Communications, and how does this name really reflect the services and solutions you provide?
Yeah, well, thank you. Well, so the reason that I chose the name Everything Communications is actually not because we do everything in communications, but because I believe that communications is everything. If you think about, in your life, everything that you want with your partner, your children, family, but also with your colleagues and your teams, like everything that you want in your life will be created through communication.
Right.
I truly believe that. And when we talk about things like employee happiness, employee satisfaction, or customer satisfaction, customer experiences, those are largely created in communication, right? And so the degree to which we can optimize and maximize our communication is the degree to which we can enhance these experiences, creating happier employees and happier customers. So that's where the name came from. And at the same time, there is actually a visionary intention of creating the world's go-to for everything communications. So we will be the hub. So whether you think of SEO or website or chatbots or contact center or whatever the case, we are building some of the best vendors, some of the best businesses in the industry that are serving customers in this way.
Right. Entire thought process of naming, your brand really speaks volumes about your particular approach to addressing companies' communication needs. Now, David, let's start by discussing the importance of communication technology audit for SMBs. I understand that one of the services that you provide is communication audit. Tell us about that and why is it so critical for SMBs?
So one of the things that I found is that, and again, I've worked with some of the biggest brands in the world, from Sony to Sanyo to Walmart and the big banks and L'Oreal and some of the biggest retailers and brands in the world. And many companies are doing a lot of things very well. And yet I've not found any company that's doing everything well. Mm-hmm. And so here we say, and we all kind of agree and believe that communication is extremely critical. I actually believe that it's the most critical component of business.
Right.
And yet we don't treat it that way. Right. And so, we have several different groups relying on communications, whether it's sales or marketing or HR or operations. And yet there's nobody in an organization. I actually wrote an article entitled "Where Are Your CCOs?" It looks at the idea of, we say that communications is so critical, yet we don't have any one person who is responsible for communications across an organization. Some of the largest companies in the world have that, but the vast majority do not. And typically when we think of a head of communications, it's somebody who's in charge of corporate communications or PR, or, maybe that includes social media, things like that. But that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about communications holistically across the organization, from sales to marketing to operations to HR. Communications is a critical component of all of that. And there's nobody in the vast majority of companies who oversees all of that and making sure that it is optimized and maximized. So the most critical thing, we're not making sure that it's optimized and maximized. That's the reason why we provide a communications audit. And we go looking for what are these biggest gaps, these biggest frictions, these biggest challenges that are standing in the way of two things. One is happier employees. When we think about employee satisfaction, it's really a matter of listening to your employees and understanding what are their gaps, what are their frictions, right? And if you can find those, identify those, and then fill those, whether it's services or coaching or technology, you can create happier employees. And same thing with customers. There's so many frictions in even top companies. Right, that are doing things very, very well. There are so many frictions. You're dealing with them all the time. When you call some of the biggest brands that you have to deal with, whether it's a cell phone company or internet, like whatever it is, we deal with so many frictions in communicating with these companies, and they're spending millions of dollars on their marketing and communications, and it's falling apart in these gaps and in these frictions and in these challenges. So we find those, we identify those, we surface them, and then we bring in the right service providers, technology providers, enablement partners who can fix those and solve those gaps.
Oh, that's wonderful and very resourceful indeed. Now, David, to support that, can you share an example where a Comm audit really benefited a business?
Sure. I could sit here all day talking about tons of different examples. And that's kind of the challenge, is that because we don't just focus on one area, and that's really what makes us stand out as an organization, is that there are many communication consultants who focus on a specific thing, right? Whether it's contact center or telephony or web chat or whatever the thing is. We look across an organization. So honestly, it's hard to pick out one example, but I mean, things like I've helped companies to renegotiate their pricing programs with their unified communications platform. Coming from Zoom, I've got a lot of experience in the industry, and for many companies, I've been known as their Zoom guy, right? But before that, I worked with several companies, from whether it was marketing technologies or whether it was consulting companies on their social media strategy or personalized marketing strategy, data marketing, email marketing. There's a lot of other experience there. And so working to help a company, again, if we just think about particular divisions within an organization, if we just think about marketing, there are so many opportunities just within marketing to create more leads or to generate more leads from the website. I mean, here's an example. Companies have customers who are coming to their website all the time. Take a car dealership as an example, right? You're a car dealership, you're Honda, Hyundai, Toyota, doesn't matter. You've got people right now who are coming to the website, taking a look and maybe not seeing exactly what they want, trying to engage somebody, a chatbot. They don't really want to use the chatbot because, they're often it's not a great experience. They're hoping to find the answer. They can't really find it and they leave, right? They go to the competitor website, right? Meanwhile, marketing is spending millions of dollars in communications to attract these people to come to the website. Well, they did that. They came to the website. They weren't able to find what they wanted to find, and they left, and they went to go buy a product or test drive or whatever they wanted to do from the competitor. Right. So, I mean, I've worked with car dealerships to, first of all, I believe that if somebody comes to your website, don't let them leave. Like, find out what are they looking for. Help them. Put at minimum a chatbot, an AI-powered chatbot that is actually intelligent and can actually help them find the information that they're looking for. Number two, a live person, right? To me, it's like, if you go to a trade show and you just leave your brochures sitting there in the booth, right? There's nobody there, right? And you just hope that people come into the booth, that they're attracted by what they see, and they come and they look at a brochure and they read through it and they find the information they need. Like that's a silly, idea, a silly approach, right? You're going to want to put a person in there to be able to interact and exactly. And so it's the same thing with the website, but we don't, by and large, we're not doing that. So few companies are taking advantage of the opportunities and the technology and the processes. And then, like, why have a person schlep themselves across town and book themselves in to come in for a demo or a test drive in a week or on the weekend or whatever? They're on your website now, right? Show them a virtual walkthrough now,
Mhm.
right? And so again, there's so many different things, whether it's marketing or sales. I can tell you from a sales perspective, you've got companies who are really struggling right now to find buyers and pumping out emails through their spam cannons and spraying and praying and hoping that that they'll get hits, and they do. Unfortunately, that's what keeps them running. They get those 1%, 2% of the thousands of people that they're hitting, but it's not effective, right? And what ends up happening is a bunch of those emails start going to the spam folder, right? And so there's a diminishing return on email, and so people turn to telephone. But there's companies out here, they've got teams of people who are trying to work the phones and trying to make telephone calls, cold calls. Meanwhile, their phone numbers actually don't show up properly on caller ID. It just says unknown number.
Right.
I don't know about you, but if I see unknown number on my cell phone, I'm not answering.
Yes.
Right? So there's a company who, let's just say this is the same company who, they've got people coming to they're spending all this money. They got people coming to their website. A bunch of them are leaving, not finding, either because they're not finding what they're looking for, or they just wanted quick help and they can't find it. So they're going somewhere else. And then at the same time, you've got people who are calling out to find customers, but they can't reach customers through email because a large portion of it's going to spam, or their subject lines aren't engaging, or whatever the case is, right? They're just spammy. They look spammy. And the first thing you see is, this is a spam. I'm not going to read it, right? They're not engaging. And then they try to call, but the caller ID doesn't even show up properly. So, there's a myriad of different problems. But again, nobody's looking at that holistically. As far as anyone in the business really is concerned, is the salespeople have telephone. They can make calls, right? So they're making calls. What's happening? I don't know. I guess these salespeople aren't very effective.
Right.
Well, nobody's going to be effective if a call is coming up as unknown number.
Absolutely. Your insights, specifically, David, they provided, and especially the importance that you've thrown across for the Comm audits, are truly providing like a clear roadmap for our audience who are really looking to enhance their business operations and customer engagement for sure. Now let's tap into the importance or the role of tech brokers. Navigating the vast world of technology is already so exhausting, and so it's so much work, right? And this is where the vital role of tech brokers come to place. How can SMBs really benefit from using a tech broker, and what sets your brokerage services apart from direct vendor engagement?
Yeah, thank you. So, tech brokers are, I think maybe not a lot of people are familiar with it, but it's very similar to a travel broker, insurance broker, what have you, is you get somebody who's working for your benefit, right? So our job is to understand our clients' needs, right? What are their challenges? What are they trying to do? And then we partner, in our case, we partner with more than 250 of the world's top communication technologies. So if we just take unified communications as an example, I can help my clients with Zoom, which is where I used to work. And truthfully, I've got a bias towards Zoom. I also can help my clients with all of their major competitors, right? And so for me, it's a matter of taking a look at, what does my client need? Right? They may just be looking for enabling their employees to work from home. Again, maybe it's a situation where they finally realize that their customers are not picking up their calls because it shows up as unknown caller, right? And why is that happening? In some cases, it's happening because they're on a provider that's just not appropriate. And in other cases, it's because they set their employees home with cell phones and said, just use your cell phone. Well, those employees who are using their cell phone don't want to necessarily be cold calling with their personal ID. And so they're blocking their numbers. Regardless, whatever the case is, maybe they're just looking for a new telephony solution so that their employees can properly work from home or work from anywhere. When they approach me looking for a cloud telephone solution, I'm going to look more holistically and say, okay, well, what are you using for your entire collaboration? And then from that point, I'm going to go out to my partners and see what is really the best solution out there. Do you need something that integrates with the platform that you're already using? Do you need something that's really high quality and really extremely reliable? Do you need something with really great background noise suppression? Do you have employees who are working from airports and working from home with kids and dogs and all that kind of stuff, right? Where you're running a call center where you want to enable your contact center staff to be able to work from home, work from anywhere, right? Or are you doing something that's very unpopular and something that they don't like and forcing them to come into the office, right? So again, employee satisfaction, employee happiness, customer satisfaction. A lot of it is the technology and processes and the coaching that's within there. But understanding what they're trying to do, understanding what their challenges are, working on their benefit, and then going out to my vendor partners to see which one of these has the best solution for them, and then bringing that to them and saying, okay, actually, based on your needs, based on what I'm hearing and seeing, it's actually, we don't need to look at these 7 that I could potentially help you with. It's actually just these 1 or 2 that we should be looking at. So let me contact them. I'll get a demo set up. And so basically what it does is it takes all of that, or most of that onus off of them to try to figure out what are our needs, what should we be doing, what should we be thinking about, what should we be looking for, right? They're not going to be thinking of, oh, will this provider allow a caller ID to show up, right? That's a given. Of course that's going to work.
Right.
But it doesn't. Or call quality. Is the reliability and call quality going to be there? That's a given, isn't it?
Right.
But not necessarily, right? So anyway, it's a matter of doing all that legwork, providing all that expertise. And the beauty is they don't even have to pay us for this, right? Because we, just like, with a travel broker or mortgage broker, we get paid by the vendors that we recommend. Right. So when you work through a mortgage broker and they say, you know what, based on all your needs, I'm going to recommend, RBC, they're going to earn a commission from RBC, but you don't pay them directly for that.
Understanding the benefits of a tech broker that you've outlined, David, really helps us understand how can they really help small businesses streamline their tech needs more effectively. Now let's turn our focus more on communication, which stands at the core of any successful business. David, what is the biggest communication challenge companies face today that your firm can help with?
And it comes back to the 2 things that we focus on when we help clients. 1 is employee happiness, and 2 is customer happiness. And those are really the 2 biggest things that companies are struggling with right now. There was a study put out by HP. They started the Work Relationship Index, they're calling it. And this is going to be an annual report that's going to come out showing the relationship between workers and their employers. And I had a great sit down with some industry leaders a few weeks back. There's the podcast on my channel where clearly there's a challenge. There's a problem. There's friction, and it's broken. Employees are not trusting employers that they are taking care of their needs and that they are enabling them and setting them up for success to be able to do their best work, either from wherever they want to work, or in many cases, employers are relenting and saying, okay, fine, you can work from home 2 days a week, 3 days a week, even if it's 5 days a week, but they're still not addressing necessarily all the challenges and frictions within that, right? And so employees are not satisfied. And I think a large part of that is because a lot of employers aren't either properly listening to what their employees want. They're not using the technology and surveying technologies to be able to do that. Or 2, they're not necessarily implementing it. So we come in and understand what's going on in your organization. What are the challenges? What are the frictions from leadership down, right? Leadership oftentimes doesn't trust. Is work getting done? The sales numbers aren't where they want them to be. And are people being as productive as possible, right? From the bottom up, it's we don't feel trusted. We don't feel enabled. All these kind of frictions and challenges. And so understanding from both sides, what's going on in an organization, what are the challenges, surfacing those up, and then again, to the degree that we can provide a technology or an enablement, a service provider, coaching, that's what we do.
It's great to learn that, it's important to unlock greater efficiency and satisfaction from within the company and outside, only if you're able to address these key communication challenges. But David, effective communication stands at the core as we discussed today. But let's talk about, qualifications and expertise. Now, in a field as critical as business communication, expertise is key. What makes you uniquely qualified to assist companies in this vital aspect of their business?
Yeah, sure. So again, I spent the last 3 years working at Zoom. And then before that, as I said, working with some of the world's biggest brands and bringing insights and consulting to them, helping them to see things differently. For instance, from social media perspective, every company's on social media, right? However, very few executives are satisfied with their social media programs, right? They always have a hard time figuring out how to draw revenue from their social media, how to monetize that and really turn likes into actual conversion. Similarly, from an email perspective, everybody's doing email, but that's not the point. The point isn't to send email. The point is to properly engage your audience. And so few emails that all these companies are blasting out are properly engaging audiences. So it goes beyond just doing the things. It gets into understanding what's effective and how to optimize and maximize what they're doing. So that's something that I've been doing for 9 years. I've always taken even though I came from sales, I've always taken a very consultative approach. And so, I mean, even if you look at my LinkedIn profile, you'll see numerous recommendations talking about how I'm not your typical salesperson. And that's because I've never been one to just sell a customer a product. Right. To me, it was never about selling a product. It was always about helping a customer do what they're trying to do. And for me, it's understanding, well, what are you trying to do? Well, you need this product. Well, why do you need that product? What are you trying to do? What's the problem? Right. And by taking a step back and really digging into it, I was able to become a trusted resource to be able to provide different ways of thinking about the problem. And a lot of times to get at the root problem of what's really going on. Right. So again, if I use another example, when I talk about email and consulting companies on their desire to better engage their customers. Again, these companies spending millions of dollars. If you take a company like L'Oreal, right, or Canadian Tire or RBC, spending millions and millions of dollars to advertise and to get engagement with customers. Now they get engagement with a customer. And a customer says, yeah, you know what? Sign me up for your email program, right? And the company ends up sending a portion, 20%, 30% of their mail to spam folders, right? They would come to us and say, what do we do about this? We're having problems. Our engagement is down, right? And they would say, well, you know, we understand that you can help us to avoid the spam filter and get into the inbox. To me, it wasn't about selling them a product. It was about understanding, why are you failing to engage them? What's going on with your email program, right? These people have signed up for your email. What are you doing that's failing to engage them, right? Because if you don't engage them, the mailbox providers, Gmail and Yahoo and, Hotmail, all the rest of them, they're going to be filtering that mail out. And not just on the consumer side, but on the corporate side as well. And this is becoming a bigger and bigger problem as more and more companies get more and more desperate about trying to penetrate into inboxes, into cell phones, into LinkedIn inboxes, especially with automation. These automations are trying to reach people to target them and market to them, and just pumping out more spam, whether via text message or email or LinkedIn. Like it's not the answer. It's not the right way to do it. But the answer is complex, right? There's lots of easy answers out there, and you can search them up. What to do if you're having problems reaching the inbox for email? There's simple, easy answers out there, but easy answers are typically not the right way to do it.
Absolutely. Now, thank you for sharing that anecdote. And David, your qualifications and your hands-on experiences as shared today really underscores the value that you bring to small businesses or businesses in general who are looking to enhance their communication strategies. But thank you so much for being here and for sharing your experiences and your insights with us today.
Yeah, absolutely. It's such a pleasure to be here.
As we conclude today's episode, I want to thank David Toushek for joining us and imparting valuable knowledge on the significance of communication technology in business. We discussed the critical role of CommTech audits, the benefits of tech brokerage, and the impact of effective communication on employee and customer engagement. A huge thank you to our partners as well, RBC, UPS, and Xero, for making this possible. Don't forget to subscribe to the Canadian SME Small Business Magazine at CanadianSME.ca. Thank you for listening, and stay tuned for more insightful conversations in our upcoming episodes.